The moment the silver spoon slipped from the billionaire's fingers and clattered against the white porcelain plate, the entire dining room froze. Heads turned. Forks hovered midair. And the young waitress standing beside the table felt her knees threaten to buckle as she realized the simple question she had just answered had torn open a wound no one in that room could see. Sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows of the upscale restaurant, bathing everything in a soft, deceptive calm. Crystal chandeliers glimmered gently above linen-covered tables, and the quiet hum of daytime luxury filled the air. The restaurant was a place where power lunches happened, where money spoke in whispers and judgments were made in tailored suits. At the center of it all sat Armand Kessler, a self-made billionaire known for his sharp mind and sharper tongue. He had asked the waitress something casual, almost careless, the kind of question rich men asked when bored. And yet, the answer had landed like a bomb. Before the story pulls you deeper into what led to that moment, a small pause for those watching pure kindness. If you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this exist because hearts still want to believe people can surprise us in the best ways. The waitress's name was Mireia Solis, a name few in that room would remember, though her presence would linger long after dessert plates were cleared. She was 27, with dark hair pulled into a tight bun and tired eyes that had learned how to smile even when her chest felt heavy. The uniform fit her neatly, but it could not hide the quiet discipline in her posture, the kind born from years of holding herself together when life kept trying to pull her apart. For Mireia, this job was not temporary ambition or extra income. It was survival. Every shift paid for her mother's medication, her younger brother's tuition, and the fragile roof over their small apartment that leaked whenever it rained. Earlier that afternoon, Mireia had already felt the weight of the day press against her ribs. Her mother's voice still echoed in her mind from the morning phone call, weak but trying to sound cheerful. The test results were delayed again. The medicine was running low. Mireia had promised everything would be fine, even though she had no idea how she would stretch her tips far enough this month. She arrived at work with that familiar knot in her stomach, tying on her apron like armor. Armand Kessler arrived with a group of investors and executives, men and women who laughed loudly and took up space as if the world had been designed around them. Armand himself had silver hair, piercing eyes, and the effortless confidence of someone who had never been told no for long. He noticed Mireia not because of who she was, but because she moved differently. She did not hover nervously or fawn. She listened. She anticipated. She served with quiet precision, as if every detail mattered. As the courses progressed, Armand grew restless. His mind, always hungry, seemed bored by the predictable rhythm of luxury. When Mireia approached to refill his water, he glanced up at her, curiosity flickering across his face. It was then he asked the question. A simple one. One that sounded harmless in that bright, polished room. He asked her what she would do if she did not have to work anymore. The question hovered between them, light as air, heavy as fate. Mireia felt her breath catch. She had been asked many things in her life, usually by people who wanted something from her. But this question cut differently. It assumed a world she had never lived in, a safety net she had never felt. For a brief second, she considered giving a safe answer, something small and polite. But exhaustion, grief, and years of swallowed truths surged up all at once. Her answer was quiet. Honest. Devastating. She said she would finally sleep without fear. She would sit beside her mother's hospital bed without checking the clock. She would stop calculating every breath in terms of cost. She would study nursing, not because it was practical, but because she wanted to ease pain the way she had watched strangers ease her mother's. She would breathe. The restaurant seemed to exhale with her. Faces around the table shifted from amusement to discomfort. Some guests looked away, suddenly interested in their plates. Others stared openly, as if trying to reconcile the idea that the woman refilling their glasses carried an entire unseen world on her shoulders. Armand felt something crack inside him. He had expected a dream. Travel. A business idea. Something he could dismiss or admire from a distance. Instead, he was confronted with a truth stripped bare. The realization that freedom, something he had chased and conquered, was still a distant fantasy for someone standing right in front of him unsettled him more than any market crash ever had. Mireya excused herself with professional grace, but once in the service corridor, the dam broke. Her hands trembled as she leaned against the cool wall, tears blurring the edges of the world. She hated herself for being vulnerable. For forgetting her place. For answering honestly in a room that thrived on illusions. Yet beneath the shame was relief. She had spoken her truth out loud, even if only once. Life did not pause for her emotions. Orders needed delivering. Tables needed clearing. Mireya wiped her face, straightened her uniform, and returned to the floor. But something had shifted. Guests watched her differently now. Softer. More human. And Armand, once so towering in his certainty, sat quietly, his appetite gone. As the afternoon light began to fade, Armand requested the check. He did not linger or make a show of generosity. Instead, he observed. He watched how Mireya moved, how she cared, how she carried her burdens without complaint. He remembered his own past, long buried under wealth. The years when he had slept in his car, when a single missed payment could have ended everything. He had forgotten what it felt like to live that close to the edge. Mireya assumed the moment had passed. People always moved on. Pain made others uncomfortable, and discomfort was quickly avoided. She finished her shift, counting her tips with mechanical focus. They were decent, but not enough to change anything. Still, she folded the bills carefully, as if respect might multiply their value. Just before leaving, the manager called her aside. There was an envelope waiting. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note and a card. The note was simple, not dramatic. It spoke of respect, of seeing strength where others saw service. It said that sometimes the simplest questions revealed the deepest truths, and those truths deserved answers too. The card was not a handout. It was an invitation. A fully funded scholarship for nursing school through a foundation Armand quietly supported. No press. No conditions. Just opportunity. Mireya sank into a chair, the room spinning. Her first instinct was disbelief, followed by fear. Nothing in her life had ever changed so suddenly without cost. But as she read the note again, she felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Hope, cautious but real. If this story is touching your heart so far, if it reminds you of the unseen battles people carry every day, please support it by liking, sharing, and staying with pure kindness. Your support keeps these stories alive. Days later, Mireya visited her mother in the hospital with a lighter step. She told her everything, voice trembling, tears falling freely this time. Her mother listened, hands weak but warm, eyes shining with pride. For the first time in years, the future did not feel like a wall. It felt like a door. Armand never sought recognition. He returned to his world, changed in ways few would notice. He asked different questions now. Listened longer. And when people spoke, he heard what was underneath. Before the final moments of this story, take a second to comment below. Share what this story made you feel, or a time when a simple moment changed everything for you. The last image lingers like a soft echo. Mireya walking into a classroom months later, sunlight spilling across rows of desks, her hands steady, her heart full. She still worked evenings, still worried, still struggled. But now she carried something new alongside the weight. A sense that her life was not invisible. That honesty, even in the smallest moments, could ripple outward and return as grace. And in a world obsessed with power and status, a simple question had reminded everyone watching that humanity, when truly seen, has the power to change lives.